8:44. Thank you so much, Nestor. You know, we have Senator Kelly Marsh Taitano on the line. I want to get her on because I don't know if she's good morning, Senator.
Banana seed to us.
What was your what are your thoughts on that SES meeting yesterday? Because I know I saw you in one of the little squares in the Zoom.
Right.
Yeah, the Hollywood squares that's part of our
It looked kind of like Brady Bunch.
Exactly. So I could be wrong. I'm not here with my notes. They're in my office, which I'm just about to go to because I'm going to be part of that first oversight hearing that we're having by these virtual methods. I believe the $8 million was for the first quarter, and that by the end of the fiscal year, we may be around $23 million short. That's my recollection. I'd have to go back to my notes as to what Lester said. And then, of course, as the information comes in for May, you know, all the information we have thus far was at just the tip of this whole situation. And so this month's data is going to be really telling, and that's where the bigger numbers may be coming in. So that's how I remember it anyways. But I guess we have to go back to our notes.
Right. Yeah.
Is it true that the administration said that they would not be submitting a new FY 2021 proposed budget?
Well, what he was saying right now is they work on certain indicators, and because the numbers that they have thus far are still from just the tip of when this situation started, those numbers have not activated yet. There hasn't been that 3% or greater difference. So he mentioned a couple of things. One, that once it gets past 3%, then that tips it for them, and they get to work in that way. But the other was, instead of making this a 2 or 3 step process, he was saying it may be more efficient to continue with the hearings and then just discuss it all together where that belt tightening might need to occur. So we'll see as we go forward what OFB's approach will be, whether they want to hear from the Department of Administration first and then we'll have the hearing, or whether we're going to do it all together, or maybe a bit of a hybrid.
Yeah, there was a lot of areas that was covered during that SES meeting. Was there anything? Yeah, was there anything that was revealed that kind of stood out to you or that kind of shocked you? Well,
you know, one of the things that was real important to me, and so I had a couple of questions about the tourism industry, because it is such a large part of our economy. And so I had attended or viewed anyway that webinar they had on Friday, which I'm so glad that the different entities like the Chamber of Commerce and the Hotel and Restaurant Association were a part of that, and they're being real thoughtful as they're going forward. But we need a whole lot of research and other things going on. If it's kind of like, if we clean it, will they come? So, you know, when we get our social distancing down, we still have to make sure they're going to come. And so I asked them, and they said that they are researching, because we have to understand their attitudes and what's going on in their countries. If we clean it, if we have our social distancing in place, but they're not comfortable, or their country's not letting them leave, or certain other things are happening, we need to be on top of that. So I was also asking him what other types of tourism might be able to fill the gap. Is it business tourism? Not necessarily conference, because that's a large gathering, but, you know, how much business tourism do we have? So they are doing that research, and I think that's going to be real important. It's important for us to continue to diversify. I think maybe this is a bit of one of those wake-up calls that we need to continue to diversify, but we have so much infrastructure in tourism. We really need to be on top of understanding how to stand that back up as possible.
We just want to get right into this. It's something that Sabrina's been bringing up the last few days. This CARES Act budget proposal that was submitted to the legislature, and specifically some of the, and I'm understanding, because I spoke with the director, Lacia Casil, about this, that these are proposed items that they want to procure or to get with this CARES Act funding. Bree, did you have that list, there was she actually sent it to me, Senator. I guess just on its face, and we'll go into the specifics of it. Let me.
I think all the senators were provided this budget
Right,
expenditure from Lester Carlson, and just one of the things that stood out was for HRRA, the portable air purifier, UV
There's
air
6
cleaning
portable air purifiers.
right, and then
7.
An iPad.
Yeah, an
And
iPad.
some of those things.
There
Yeah,
was
you
two two other Think Center laptops,
Yeah.
some external drives. So yeah, what was your take on that? Because I wasn't sure how you felt about that. I know that you've kind of been a tough oversight on HRRA, so just kind of
Well, I
wondering.
think I'd put it as a fair oversight because they're looking at $1 billion potentially of development, and it's been going on for 25 years. So it's important to, as with all oversights, DPR, the museum, the Chamorro Village, we need to know what's going on in there. And when I saw the budget, I'm sure it went through every senator's mind. They thought about their oversight agencies, and when they were looking through the CARES Act, and I was extremely concerned for a variety of reasons. And I'm just about ready to send out a letter. We started that letter that same day that we were having session when we received the budget for the CARES Act, because there are a whole lot of things that I think are important to understand that budget. I'm writing to get a full explanation. I want clarification on how they prioritized the needs. Why are some essential entities there but others are not? Why are some non-essential entities there but others are not? What was the criteria? Did they offer this opportunity to everyone? Mm-hmm. Did they ask everyone? Part of what's going through my mind is if they asked everyone, and some of my agencies, I need to make sure that they all responded and that they all, A, had a fair opportunity to respond, but B, they did their due diligence to respond. So is there not being there because they didn't respond? I need to find that out. And, and also looking at, trying to understand this criteria. We have other parts of my oversight that have high public traffic areas like the museum. We have vulnerable staff like the Commission y Fino Tomorrow, which are all SINA, right? And yet I don't see them on this listing. So I really want that full explanation as to what was the criteria, and why is it like this? I know that there are other grants and other federal money.
Well, I think it's a working document, right? I know that Lester Carlson said this is just what we have right now, so maybe your concerns are valid, but they just haven't got there yet.
HRRA versus, like she said, the museum where people would go.
I mean, is it just that they haven't put it in this doc yet, Senator, or what are you hearing?
Right, and that's exactly what I want to find out. I want to make sure that the Chamorro Village is cleaned and ready to go. It's going to be accommodating, I'm not sure what the social distancing will allow, but probably 200 or less people, but it will be open to the public. We have a lot of shops in there. We need to make sure that everything is in order for that to be done in as sanitary and a secure a means as possible.
Good point, yeah.
So, I really want a lot of answers, and, I think with the letter, it would have been very helpful that with the letter and the budget, if they had provided some explanation and provided some of that criteria and process for us at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Did you have a chance to see that breakdown? It was sent out yesterday regarding President Trump responding to Guam, and it provided a whole listing of all these different monies that have been given to Guam, and like the airport got 20 some million from FAA, and then when you look at the budget breakdown, it says they're going to get X amount of money as part of that 117.9. I haven't had a chance to completely make the comparison of who got what and when it's already over here under the president's listing of federal money. Have you had a chance to look through that?
No, and that SES meeting was so long, right? But I was in there for over 4 hours, and then we have to be there like 15 minutes and more ahead of time just to try to get everything ready. But this is part of what they were sharing at the SES also, and this is why I'm writing a letter asking for that full explanation, is we do understand some of this money that's coming in to assist our governmental entities is going to be coming in through Department of Interior money, through TAP grants and other grants. Mm-hmm. Some of it's going to be coming in through, the stimulus monies. Some of it's coming in through this CARE Act. But I'm sure the other senators as well, but I want to make sure that all my governmental entities have they're afforded that same ability to be able to make sure that all their needs are met and the public interest is first and foremost. But I do have questions, with part of this criteria that they sent out. Did they specify to these governmental agencies that they need to kind of get the best bang for their buck, right? To make it functional, but not necessarily top of the line. So when we look at the iPad and the laptop, $2,400 for an iPad, I understand is pretty much top of the line for iPads. A laptop,
it's like the iPad 15 or something, right?
Yeah, a laptop that costs $5,400. This is going to be probably a tough budget and fiscal situation that we're going into. We're looking at a minimum probably of that $23 million by the end of the year of being short, on top of the fact that we're already $60 million short compared to where we were 3 or 4 years ago.
Right, Senator. But in these agencies like HRA, they're given this guidance that says, hey, because of COVID, we're going to have to telework. So they're saying, Lassie is saying that, hey, we had to buy this stuff because we got to telework. So how do you kind of leverage the ability for them to do that work that they have to do while maintaining the social distancing? Right,
and that's what I'm getting at. There's teleworking, but if we're going to be $23 million or more short, we also need to make sure that this money is used as wisely as possible.
So you're saying maybe Samsung, not Apple?
Yeah, and so, we could be perhaps purchasing 2 or 3 laptops for $5,400. So, again, it gets back to some of that criteria. Were they given that criteria? Did they say, hit us with your wish list and we'll see what we can do? Or were they responsible from the beginning and say, let us know what it takes for your office to be functional?
No, I think it was more like, hey, you guys can get laptops with this money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and we're hoping to do a whole lot of things with this money. One of the, and fill in those gaps and needs. Right, teleworking is going to be part of our lives, but there also has to be being responsible. So is $5,400 for a laptop responsible? Maybe it is. But this is the work of oversight. To understand and to just make sure that the administration is sending out the appropriate information and setting up the appropriate criteria, and that our directors are responding appropriatly as well.
How many people are employed in HRA? Are there two? Because I don't think there would be a problem with social distancing.
That's a very good point. There's the director, the executive director, and then I believe at this point there are 3 staff. But they also have a couple of Manumco who have been going in as part-time. There's a particular SPREP program, I believe is the acronym for it, where HRA does not pay for it. I think it's a program that pays for them to come in. So there are several people that do go in there, and then they do have board meetings and stuff, but we all know we can do board meetings by Zoom at this point. So, yeah. Well, so a lot of questions, definitely some need for clarification, and I'm definitely extremely concerned to make sure that all of our entities are getting a fair shake and fair consideration.
Right. Hey, send us that letter when you send it out, okay?
Yeah. Sure, of course.
We'll let you go because I know you got that here. It's 9 a.m.
Yes, I need to run.
No, I just wanted to see what your thoughts were on the director working at the quarantine facilities. If you received any, concerns from her about having to work there and exposing herself?
Well, she did send a letter in response to a letter that we had sent. We were just checking in on all of our government entities. We wanted to know what they were all, doing, how they were all faring, etc. And then she had sent a letter to her board chair outlining that responsibility. And so, as you had mentioned earlier in the news, there are a lot of cabinet members that are filling those kind of a gap. And so on one hand, we need people fulfilling those kind of responsibilities, but if it takes them away from certain work, or if they have to quarantine themselves because they might be now exposed, there are some issues there. I mean, when I had first heard about this situation, I had thought maybe not the heads being directly exposed to an agency, because if they're down and out, it's maybe a larger impact to an agency, in the big picture. Mm-hmm. So, but that was the administration's approach.
Well, we heard that nobody wanted to volunteer. What I'm hearing, because I spoke to a couple of these directors yesterday, and they were just so.
But why couldn't we have the National Guard go in?
I don't know.
Right. I mean, we have other options. We have the National Guard, and we have people within
public health, maybe if
entities.
It's a public health quarantine facility.
Yeah, everyone is important, but directors and so forth, they serve different roles, and so if they're down and out with flu-like symptoms or something else, or having to, of course we don't want it to happen, but if they had to go to the hospital because they were directly exposed and had to go in, it would be a great loss. So I'm sure that's something the administration weighed out to a degree, but yeah, there could have been different options.
Right. Okay, Senator, we'll let you go now.
Thanks, Senator.
Okay, yes, I'm on my way to my virtual hearing.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Wash your hands. 9:01. And we take a little break. We got Sergeant Paul Tapal of the Guam Police Department coming up next for KUAM FM Hagatnya. It's the KUAM News takeover of Guam's favorite Good Morning.
Remind Mom that she